Everybody take a seat. I call this meeting to order at 3:31 p.m. on Friday, September 9th, 2016. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Secretary Gretsch for the roll call.
President Kwong.
Present.
Vice President Wilson.
Present.
Treasurer Singh.
Present.
Senator Magnus.
Present.
Senator Babiote.
Present.
Senator Joyce. Senator Pichetti.
Here.
Senator Walsh. Senator Najjar.
Present.
Senator Cardamon. Senator Jane.
Present.
Senator Downer.
Here.
Senator Najib.
Here.
Senator Fink.
Here.
Senator Martin. Here. Senator Shaheen. Here. Senator Meade.
Here.
Senator Seok.
Here.
Senator Patel.
Present.
Advisor Johnson. Present.
At this portion of the meeting, I'm going to open it up to announcements. I actually started off. So just to announce, make a quick announcement here. So if anybody doesn't understand how meetings run, it's by Robert's Rules of Order. We don't have to go into the very specifics, especially during the first meeting, but if we're asking for a motion on the floor, we'll ask for the motion, we'll give you the words for the motion, but we'll need a voting member, which is all of you, to say, I move, and then the words, so that way it gives it the force of law. Also, never talk out of turn. If you do, I will call you out on it. That way we can keep the meeting running, and also so we can keep this as short as possible because it is Friday, right? Does anybody else have any announcements? Okay. Senator Pichetti, thanks.
There's been some collaboration in the works with the Rape Crisis Center and also Recovery Resources with getting sexual violence prevention training administered through kind of like a peer-to-peer network. So if you guys have any questions about that, you can see me or Mr. Rashida as well. And additionally with that too, there's also going to be an event scheduled along with that on October 5th, starting at 7 o'clock, and it goes till 8:30 in the main classroom auditorium. It's called Ecology. It's for students taking up for sexual violence prevention, and then there will be a follow-up 2 weeks later with that. So we're hoping to get a good outcome for, or like a turnout for that, and also it's relatively cheap too. So that's basically it.
Kyle Stevens.
Alright, so I met with Dan Linhart the other day, and if you guys don't know, our website is pretty much no more. We're going to be using Worksync now. So one of the first things that we should do is everybody update their profile, because that's where it says your email and your phone number, and that way we can create a mental roster. Next thing is that the cabinet and speaker applications are up, so if you guys are interested in applying for either of those are up, and then we'll also be sending out like an all-school email shortly for the public to apply.
Thank you. Is there any other announcements at this point in the meeting? Senator Kangan?
Well, I wasn't on the roll call, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just going to add you to it. We know who you are. Our apologies. Is there any other announcements? Anything at all? Okay. So now we're going to move on to new business, and to start it off, we're going to go ahead and give the floor to Advisor Johnston for an advisor update. So welcome her to the board.
Hi everyone. In the back of the room. Did everyone have a good summer? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Welcome back to reality. You guys will all laugh now. In a couple of weeks, they'll be in the fetal position in the corner. No, just kidding. I'm really looking forward to this year. As some of you might remember, last year I joined you all in November of last year, so I have a semester under my belt, which is good. So hopefully it'll be positive momentum as we move forward into the school year. Just a few things to make note of in case if you don't know. My office is on the 3rd floor, SC 319. You can always stop by. You can send me an email. My email address is kind of weird at this university. It's j.m.johnston3. Apparently there's 2 other j.m.johnstons roaming about campus, so if you see them, holler. So if you ever have any questions, concerns, come see me, send me an email. We're working out a few things. I know there's been a lot of questions about budgets. about budget processes in our department and student life. If you haven't met him yet, Ron is the new Director of Student Involvement. I would try to tell you his last name, but I would really butcher it, but it starts with an S and it sounds like Chinamental. So, just do your best with that one. So he's the new Director of Student Involvement. So he's working with the student organizations as far as what that space is going to look and feel like for the year, doing assignments of that space, and really just making sure that that overall student org space and our student orgs are up and operating to their fullest capacity, using OrgSync to the best of its ability, because it is a program that we're paying for. So if you have any questions about student orgs, you can come see me afterwards. Otherwise, you can stop by and see Ron. I know he's excited to see new students. He's been here, I want to say 2 or 3 months now. So he's definitely starting to get his groove. And as you can tell, if you haven't seen already, they've established when the student org fair is going to be. So I know he's been reaching out and communicating to student organizations. If you do have a student organization that you're a part of or that you're working with, make sure they get their student organization registration in, because I know that is coming up soon, the deadline for that. So as we kind of go through some bumps, concerning those things, please bear with us. But if you hear from student orgs that they're having issues concerning certain things, please try your best to be understanding and let them know, we have some new folks in place in the Department of Student Life. We're trying our best to really hit the ground at a sprint. But if they have any direct questions, they can send us all an email. But I'm looking forward to working with you all this year. Please work with us all as we kind of hit the ground running ourselves. With student government this year, I think we're in a good place. The executive board and I met a couple times during the summer just to kind of touch base and hit the ground running. So hopefully we're at a great spot this year, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead to the second portion of new business. We're going to go ahead and welcome up President Quam for the executive board update. Go ahead and welcome President Quam to the floor.
Thank you, everyone. I'm extremely excited right now. At the beginning of the year, I get like this reinvigorated feeling. When I started to hear Senator Pachetti talking about the things he wants to impact on campus, and that's extremely important. Getting this group of people together that all cared very deeply about making change, about making the student experience better. That's exactly what we're here for. So thank you for coming today. I'm really excited to get the year started off. I'd like to welcome our new senators. I see your bright young faces, and we need that. We need that fresh, invigorated feeling. So we have a lot planned as far as our e-board, and a lot of senators also were telling me about some of the projects they want to work on, and I think that we have some very formidable stuff here. As far as is this thing on, can you guys hear me? Number one.
Yeah.
Okay. So our biggest goals as an e-board is to push active representation. And what does that mean, active representation? We want to stretch interaction hours. We want to make sure that our senators are meeting with their local constituents and meeting their needs. So this means we want to emphasize those college senators that they're working directly with their colleges. And we're going to be working hand in hand with you, hand in hand with the speaker. I'll talk about that process in a little bit. And then participation of committee membership. We want our committees to be, we want them to be boastful. We want them to be active throughout the year. We want to be having our meetings pretty often. And we want to utilize them and bring that knowledge back to the Senate meetings, for all of us. And then the senator projects are going to address the needs of the students. We want those to be data-driven, so we're going to utilize surveys this year. We're going to utilize a lot of this new cool technology with OrgSync that we've learned about. It's going to be fun. And then secondly, I think our biggest goal is educating and empowering student organizations on campus. One of our biggest functions is funding these student orgs. Is funding student organizations. One of our biggest facets as an organization. So we're going to pay a lot of attention to that. We want to make sure that we are funding orgs. We want to make sure, number one, we're fair and equitable in the funding process. We want to make sure all these orgs are educated about what we're funding them about, how to get funding. We want to make this funding process more user-friendly. Okay, that's something big that we need to hit home. And we need participation from every senator, whether that's on finance, whether that's on USO, whether that's just their senators. We need them talking to their constituents to find out what the issues are. So now let's get down to a little bit of business. Well, first let me inform you about a few things that are going on in the community, things I think you should be knowledgeable about. Propel Ohio 2016 is upcoming. It's on October 14th. And what that is a leadership program that promotes civic engagement. So administrators and students from all over the state come to meet here. It's run by Senator Sherrod Brown, and they're learning. You know, they're talking about issues like childhood poverty, healthcare, education, housing security. And I would really like for one of our senators or directors or e-board members to be there. So I'm going to be sending out an application for that. Please apply if you think this is something that's interesting to you. This is what we're hitting home on a bigger level. You know, we're all about civic engagement here. Let's be about civic engagement at a greater level. In 2 weeks, September 28th, this is the second reoccurring, it's called The Big Picture. This is put on by CAB. If you go on the home page, you'll see a bunch of students and the president with the big CSU logo. We want full participation from student government there. We want to show them that we are a unified organization. We want to show them that we have presence on campus. So please make sure you mark that in your calendars, September 28th at noon. We'll make sure to remind you guys coming up. Also, along with what CAB is doing, they're headlining this office decoration competition for homecoming. So we have one of the more prominent offices on campus. We got to decorate that office. So if anyone thinks that they're interested in that or would like to headlight that, please let me know. Please let Secretary Gresh know. We want to show the student body what we're all about, student government. Like Kyle said, the cabinet the cabinet application is now open. That's on OrgSync. Please, I encourage you to apply. Encourage your friends to apply. We're going to close that application on September 23rd. Everyone got that date? Awesome. And then as far as the speaker application, that is also on OrgSync. It's also live. We're going to be closing that on September 16th. Sound cool? So the process for that is you put in an application, and then we take a pool of applicants, and then they come in front of the Senate, and the Senate votes on that applicant. And that's only for membership. So the speaker is going to be one of these individuals who is currently in the Senate right now. Cool? All right. Office hours, you can still do your office hours. Does everyone, by a show of hands, who knows how to log office hours? Okay, so I think for the most part, everyone knows how to log office hours. If you don't know how to log your office hours, please come on down to the office and we can do that. You got to log those 2 office hours per week, whether that's an interaction hour or that's working on your Senate project. Make sure that you're working on those things. Student Org Fair. Okay, so we have a Student Org Fair next week in 2 weeks. So we can have a table either September 21st, which is a Tuesday, or September 22nd, which is a Wednesday. So I'm trying to garnish as much participation as possible. And we can only sign up for 1 day. So is there either day that anyone wants to jump in and sign up for it? Because before I sign up for it, I want to make sure I'm doing a date that someone can commit to. Is anyone at all interested in doing the Student Org Fair table?
Can you say those dates again?
September 21st, it's a Tuesday.
That's a
And it's
Wednesday.
from 11 to 2. You don't have to be there for the whole time if you show up for an
The
hour.
21st is a Wednesday.
Is it? Oh, well, that's what, or maybe it's September 20th and September 21st. It's a Wednesday, a Tuesday and a Wednesday. Thank you for that clarification. So Tuesday and a Wednesday from 11 to 2. Is there anyone that would like to could commit to either of those dates?
Senator Hardy, you can commit to those dates. Senator Martin, you can commit to those dates.
Is there a specific day that works better?
Wednesday, I'm trying to think of my classes on Tuesday.
By show of hands, who's up for a Wednesday?
After 1.
After 1?
Before 1.
Okay, so I'll sign up for the Wednesday date then. I think that sounds better. Just because we got more
Can
hands.
you keep those hands up and have you write their names down?
No, that's fine. Well, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, keep your hands up if you're available, and we can talk to you on an individual basis, kind of see, what times and the dates. Keep those hands up.
And this is a good opportunity to speak to students and let them know what we're doing. Because we have a lot of freshmen that show up at those. All right, thank you. What else? Okay, so, we need to talk about a retreat date. So obviously we want to do the retreat date after we have a speaker. And we're most likely going to do that either at the next meeting or the following meeting. By the Constitution, we have to have one absolutely by that third meeting. We cannot have any more business until we have that speaker. But if we are not getting any applications after this week, then I think we can go ahead and run with initiating that speaker by the next meeting, which is on the 30th, correct? Okay. So we'll run with that so long as we get those applications. And then we'd like to do a retreat date, again, like what we did last year on the Saturday. Does that work for anyone? Is that barring? Like, obviously, I know Saturdays are a huge commitment, but we need like a solid 8 hours with each other, hand in hand, arm in arm. Does that sound cool? Saturday? Okay, so we'll work that date out. Obviously, it'll be no earlier than 4 weeks. I'm looking at November. Late October, November. Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, let's get down to some business. So the first thing I'd like to do is ratify these meeting dates. And then with the exception of this month, same like what we've been doing in the past, first and third Friday of the month. Now again, it's at the discretion of the Senate. If you think that we need to change dates, we can totally do that. But we do Fridays because after 3:30 there's no classes, and this is what people can meet. If you guys want to have your meetings, your Senate meetings on Saturdays, by all means, you can do that. But I think we found that this works. If anyone would like to comment on it or ask any questions, these are the dates that we've come up with. And like I said, with the exception of this month, these are the first and third Fridays of every month. We have 5 Fridays this month of September, which is why it's a little weird.
Does anybody want to make a motion to approve these dates? Entertain a motion. Senator Bobiote?
Where is November?
Oh. Hold on. We'll fix it. Good eye, you know.
People just had too much Thanksgiving, so they took the whole month.
Right, we're going to be full for that whole month.
November we got lucky too because the second and fourth Friday were off. So if it was the first and third Friday, we'd have been in trouble. The fourth and the 18th. Is there any I did this? Okay, that's fine. So
You can go back to that.
what was it?
November 4th.
Thank you, Senator Bobiote. That's why we're a team, guys.
And then this December 8th, I put it.
Is Thursday.
Is it?
The first and the 8th are both Thursdays.
Oh, I don't know.
So it'd be December 2nd and the 16th. Or December 2nd, sorry.
What did I do with that?
And then the 9th.
December 2nd, 9th. And so I put 9th as a tentative date because this is the week before finals, and a lot of times we don't have business going on at this time. In the past, we haven't had this date, but obviously throughout the year we can decide whether or not we want to have this date. So I put this one as tentative. So we'd be voting on these following dates. All right. So if anyone wants to make a motion.
Floor is now open to a motion. Senator Kangan?
I move to approve the following Senate meetings on the board.
Are there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. That's true, yeah. Smart Vice President. We get a second?
I second.
Okay, appreciate it. Any objections? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes.
Are you writing down who's second? So The next thing I need to do is ratify or appoint people to some committees, so that we can get the ball rolling with the year. And the first two committees I think that are the most pertinent are SARB and Finance. We have groups that are requesting money, so we need to get the bylaws ratified. And there are a lot of people that are trying to apply to be in the Senate, so I think we can get that rolling. So the people that I'm appointing to SARB are Senator Najjar, Senator Najib, and Senator Downer. And then Finance Committee is Senator Kangan, Senator Jane, and Senator Walsh. And then I'm also looking for a ratification with that, looking for Senate approval. At a later date, I think that we can add people to these committees, but I think that we need to have a broader conversation about how many people we need on each committees. But this is just so we can get the ball rolling for the year.
Okay, the floor is open to a small discussion on the matter.
I was wondering if I could be placed on SAR. Is that been on there for 2 years?
We can put you on SAR, but this is what we've decided as a group that, because we have you on Finance already.
Just to hit I think just to begin the year before we get a committee up and running to appoint new people to those committees.
Obviously, we want to have a broader discussion about where to put people on committees. And I think that that's what we're going to do staff for, but in order to get the ball rolling, we have to get these two approved and ratified.
So you can't sit on, oh, sorry.
Senator Nadette, go ahead.
You can't sit on both, committees?
You definitely can, but we had a discussion about where we want people to be on the committees, and we need an odd number. And we didn't want to have an excessive number, so this is 3 and 3.
Okay.
How many openings are there? I'm sorry.
I mean, there's no limit to the openings. I think in the Constitution it provides for that you can have 6.
It has to be odd number.
But we want an odd number.
Don't speak without me calling on you.
Okay, can I review the document?
Well, I'm just appointing these people. We're going to set up SART. Obviously, we can go through the whole process like we did last year. We vote on each person, but I think it's an inefficient process. But later on, as soon as we get these two running, we can get the ball rolling with staff, and then we're going to have a very efficient process. This year, we have a committee application, so you can put all your committees in. It can all be streamlined through WorkSync. Sound cool? So I'm looking for a motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Senator Nadette.
I move to ratify the President's Committee of
Yeah, are there any seconds on the motion? Go ahead.
Okay.
Are there any objections? Any discussion? Hearing none, the motion passes.
All right, so thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. It's going to be a great year. We're going to have a huge impact on campus. And let's do this as a team, right? Thank you. Holding it down, though, for his first speaker.
Yeah. Mess
I
around.
was a brownie last year.
Okay, we already got a lot done, and look, we're moving very quick. It's great. So you guys won't have to deal with me very long, right? You'll get the speaker very soon. So that'll be good as well. The next thing on the list for new business is the treasurer update. So we're going to go ahead and welcome Treasurer Singh to the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone has a copy of the packet.
Everybody go ahead and look at your packets now.
On the first page is how much we get 2015 and 16 expenses. Please take a look at it if anyone has a question.
What does it call in regards to maintenance?
No, I'm on the front page first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Anyone question?
Is there any questions, comments, discussion on the matter? Go ahead.
I just have a question. I don't know if we're at the right ask this yet, but if we compare the 2015, 2016 to the 2016, 2017 budgets, I noticed they're different. And
I'm gonna
you got it? Okay, thank you.
Good question.
So these are the funding dates that came with for 2016 and 17 years. Last year we had a 5 funding hearing. This year we're gonna cut down to 4. 2 for fall semesters, 2 for spring semesters. And I would like to,
Yeah, so right now, you guys can go ahead and look at this here. Go ahead and take a look at your paper. As you can see, there's the fourth one. You can see it on the screen. We're looking for a motion to approve these funding hearings, so you can just say the basics there. Go ahead.
I move to approve the funding hearings.
Is there a second on the matter?
I'll second.
Is there any projections? Any discussion on the matter?
Why did you guys choose to cut from 5 to 4?
according to the GFAC rule, we're only supposed to have, the minimum we're supposed to have 2 per semester.
Okay. With no other discussion, the motion passes.
Okay, here is the 2016 and 2017 budget. So this year we got total of 198,346. And the maintenance, the 45,657 that we cannot cut. This is basically for the center scholarship and the maintenance required. So basically I break it down to $100,000 for the finance committee, 110 to 55,000, and personal relationship 500, and community outreach $1,000, public policy 189. And this year I came with a new thing, it's called travel. So last year there was a travel funding column. This year we made a new column for travel. So I put 18,000 there, and the co-lab budget is 18,000, and the center project 6,000. Actually budget is 4,000.
Okay, is there any discussion on these? Any questions? Go ahead.
What is maintenance? So maintenance basically like cleaning and all stuff they has to pay for separate.
What about last year? Wasn't on there?
Last year it was there, but it wasn't in the column.
It's a mandatory funding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's probably a simple explanation, but I was just wondering why the decrease in money for center projects and discretionary budget this year is just last. Is that for the maintenance?
Yeah, President Kwong?
So, our entire budget comes from the general fee. Everyone knows what the general fee is, right? Every credit hour we pay $55.40 towards the general fee. And then a portion of that general fee pool goes to our total budget. And then the general fee is divided up between the general fee organizations, us, the ECAB, the Sports Council, IFC. So this year, they took a 10% reduction from every organization, and they created another pool of money that's going to go to other organizations that in the past were not able to get funding. Groups that were not general fee organizations, like Veterans Affairs was one of them. Veterans Affairs was wondering, how come we can't get money from GFAC? Other organizations were wondering, why can't we be a part of that pool? So we've set aside an extra 10%, from the beginning, saying other groups are entitled to this general fee money. So it's not necessarily that we will never see those dollars. If those dollars aren't used, we obviously can go to GFAC and say we have a need for those funds.
President Kwong, is that from ours alone, or is that from the?
That's from every GFAC organization had to reduce 10%. And then in addition to that, if the number seems lower, it's because there's this ambiguous amount of fund dollars that we were not given at the beginning of we weren't given this year that we were given last year, and we're still delving into that. Because obviously you can see the total that we have as our current balance is not even close to what we had last year's expenditures.
Yeah, is there any other questions, discussion? Senator Hagan?
For the 1.250, does that mean that there's only like the first 20 words that request that?
Yes, so basically, if you need more money, then we can go back to GFAC and request more money for that.
So essentially, until we get that second round of funding, if we do, which we're gonna try to do, then we can start upping these numbers, because we usually do that every year. Is there any other discussion, questions, anything? It's very important, the funding process is very important, so feel free. Advisor Johnson?
Just so you all know, if you're looking at your budgets, last year, the additional funding that we're still kind of up in the air about wasn't allocated to the student government budget until, I believe, October. So it's not like it was part of the original start of the budget last year. So we're starting on the right note.
So Treasurer Singh is requesting a motion to approve these current budgets. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we make a motion, I don't think we explained the travel fund.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
So, just to provide as much transparency about the travel fund as possible, the bylaws of GFAC state that those dollars are meant to be used on campus. And it's very ambiguous about how we can fund student organizations to use that money to go other places. But we believe that those student dollars that organizations use to go travel other places bring a value added back to Cleveland State University. So we don't want to entirely rule that out and say we cannot give funding for travel, but we want to be responsible about how we're looking at travel funding. So right here we have a cap. I think this is about 15%, 17%?
11%.
11% of our total budget. So we're saying 11% of our total budget can leave campus for the purpose of travel. So we want it to be fiscally responsible in how we're addressing that. And obviously we can open up the conversation to whether this needs to be more. And then what we hope to come out of Finance Committee bylaws is how are we going to treat this travel fund?
Go ahead.
I think that's extremely useful because we were running into some issues last year about some engineer students traveling down to Columbus to get some experience in like a, I think it was like a whole collaboration type engineer, state round function that was in the city. So I think that could be very useful. I thought that was very thoughtful.
Go ahead.
I also like I think having a travel budget is really cool. Like, as of now, are we gonna allocate that money on a first come, first served basis or merit, or like what's the, before we get
President Kwan?
I think that's something that we definitely need to talk about because as it stands right now, yeah, first come, first served. I think that one of the ideas we possibly contrived was we have the thing set up into 4 segments, 4 funding hearings. So do we decide to do 25, 25, 25 throughout the year? Possibly. We can run the numbers from the past 5 years. We can do a 5-year analysis. And I think with a pretty certain confidence, we can say that the last hearing, there's usually not as much funding. So maybe we can adjust those numbers. But we have 3 extremely qualified people on Finance Committee. We're going to have those conversations. The E-Board is going to be involved in those conversations. And before we make any final decisions, you guys are going to know about it as well.
So, as a Senate and as a student government, we have that power. We have the ability to move dollars. So, the discussion is very important. So, is there any other questions, comments, concerns, anything? Senator Marcus?
Yes, I like the idea of the travel fund, because I know last year there were some groups, because was there a cap though on how much we could give for off-campus events?
Right.
Are we still allowed to give them that money and then we can supplement with money from the travel fund, or is that travel fund only to be used for that?
I think the travel, sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think that the travel fund is earmarked to say that they're going to have a similar cap. And then, like, we as an organization say, well, we're going to fund this many organizations in total to travel. Because again, those are student dollars that are meant to go back to the students. So we want to be sure that we're spending those dollars so that that value added is going directly back to the students. But I mean, we're open to that conversation. Right now, our budget is obviously a lot slimmer. So I don't think that right now we could entertain an idea like that. But as the developments go on, obviously we want to entertain something like that.
Senator Kangan?
I know you were talking about amending the bylaws, but I think that needs some approval,
Correct.
right? So since our first finance committee meeting or hearing is going to be before our second SGA meeting, Should we, is Alex and me, can you email just so everyone can read up on the new bylaws and approve them?
We definitely can do that. Organizations have done that in the past, and I think as long as everyone's comfortable with that, that could work. This is the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Senator Martin, you have some?
Yeah, I'm not aware, but is the funding request for our student organizations open? Because I had that question asked and then.
Treasurer Singh?
The funding request form is not open yet. The reason is that the student might want to update that form, so probably by Monday or Tuesday the form will be open.
And we have to, sorry.
Plus these budgets aren't. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we gotta ratify the dates before we can.
Advisor Johnson?
I know last year there was a lot of issues surrounding budgets that were allocated to student organizations because we were finding that we would, these are just examples and I'm going to use fake organizations, but say the Pizza Eating Club, because we're all hungry and it's Friday, requested $3,000 for a pizza palooza. So they came through, they filled out the form, they said they were going to spend $1,500 at Rascal House, they were going to spend $1,000 on marketing, and they were going to spend $500 on prizes and giveaways. So great, Student Government Finance Committee, they agreed. We're going to give the Pizza Eating Club $3,000, best of luck with this event. Well then after the event took place, there was no checks and balances. So they could have spent $1,500 on Rascal House, and then the other $1,500 could have been kept in their student organization account. So what we're trying to do in student life is making sure that not only student organizations, but money that's transferred as part of GFAC, there's checks and balances on all ends. So we're going through the finance form that students are filling out, and we're updating certain things so that Yolanda, our budget officer, knows 500 of this money that we're giving this student organization is earmarked for Rascal House. $1,000 of this money is earmarked for duplicating as part of the university's duplicating process. So that way we know we can make sure those checks and balances are done, and that way when the event is over and the student group only spent $2,500, we can then take that $500 back to student government and allocate it to another student organization. So that's why the form isn't up and live yet. We just want to work through that process. So it's no fault of anybody up there. It's more of a student life process issue.
Yeah, every dollar is precious, as you can see. We only have so much, so very important. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? I'm sorry, what's your name?
Najee.
Najee? Oh, yeah, Senator Najee, go ahead.
I want to make sure that we also have a good understanding of the collab and co-sponsorship budget, so we all have an understanding of does that mean HGA, does that mean organization? Can we just get an explanation on that?
Yeah, President Kwong, if you would.
So I think that as a whole last year, we kind of like lost the idea of what collaboration meant. I think we perceived it by what it is in the bylaws, that any group can collaborate with us. But like our constitution says, like the GFAC constitution says, we want to have events that are bringing the most value added to the most students at Cleveland State University. So we will go out of our way to collaborate with organizations, not collaborate with organizations, fund organizations who want to collaborate with other organizations. Because we believe that those events, when they're collaborating with each other, will bring the most value added, will bring the most students involved to those events. So that's what we mean by collaboration. I think as a whole that, you know, as long as I've been in SGA, the funding process has kind of been kind of cattywampus. We haven't had consistency from year to year. So I think that's something we definitely want to work on. Let's make it our initiative as a student government to institutionalize this process so it's easy on students, so that it's fair, so that we can fund student organizations without having a headache. You think we can do that?
Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Nadette.
Can you talk about maintenance? I know it's out there, so I'm so confused.
The maintenance
on
is-
what that is.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Treasurer Singh.
Okay. The maintenance is mandatory by the CSU agreement. The maintenance also covers the center scholarship, like 250, I think there's 350, I think? 300 scholarship. So that's the number is fixed by student life, so we cannot even touch that number.
Treasurer Singh, does it also cover the cost of our actual office?
Yes.
Yeah, so we rent to have that office. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, we're not gonna take any, questions, sorry about that.
You can call on my thing. Do you have a question that pertains to the finance budget?
To travel.
Oh, go ahead.
With travel, does it only account for actually getting to the area where you're going from CSU, like gas in the car, for example? Or does it also pertain to like hotel expenses or eating expenses or things that you're gonna have to pay for while you're traveling?
So, I mean, that's dependent on the university's rules. The university has comps per diem, which is your food and your gas. But then when we're making those decisions, we look at it holistically and we say, well, we want to try and fund the most our organizations. We want to make sure that number one, they're funding for those events. So we look and say, well, can you cover your cost of gas and we'll pay for your registration fees or something like that. Cool. Are you a freshman?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get you up there.
Anything else? Okay, this is good discussion. We do need a motion though. We're gonna need a motion to approve these budgets as they are right now. Can we get a motion on the floor to approve the 2016-2017 budgets as they are? Senator Magnus?
I move to approve the 2016-2017 budget as written.
Okay. Can we get a second? Senator G?
I second.
Okay. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Treasurer. Okay. That is good. Definitely good to discuss. We'll keep discussing the funding process too because it's an ever-evolving thing. And that's like one of our biggest roles for those of you who are new. And I see some faces in here that I don't recognize. You guys, that's going to be your role. You're getting those dollars to the students. So the next thing on the new business here is we're going to go ahead and welcome members of the student body from MSA and SSA, that's the Muslim Student Association, and the Saudi Student Association. They're coming up here to give us a little funding request presentation. You guys are welcome to come up. Go ahead and welcome to the floor.
Thank you. You want to help pass? You're all passing off. That's okay. Does each person get one of these? Trying to save the environment without the state. It's an environmental thing. Oh, sorry. You actually can't. Come on. You're actually. It's just a procedural thing. Sorry to move you up here, buddy. I didn't mean to like.
Don't worry about it.
Really? Cancel that one right now. They're having like this is the same issue they happened last year. I think it's like the last 4 or 5 years. As long as I've been here, the MSA and SSA called the first meeting. What about this place? What about this place?
Well, I know we don't have any food vendors, or catering can't make it. Okay, but these guys have one. What do you do? So what do we do in that event? Do we just cancel this entire number out of our total? Do you want to let them know?
Okay. I don't have a gavel. My knuckles are gonna be all red by the end of this. So thank you guys for coming. You guys can go ahead and start whenever. Go ahead, point at me whenever you want me to name or whatever. So go ahead.
Well, thank you for welcoming us today. So my name is Sarah Muhammad. I'm the president of the Muslim Student Association, and today we are presenting our budget for our Eid party that we'll be having next Friday. So this year we're doing something a little different. We usually have the Saudi Student Association usually has their own Eid party. MSA, the Muslim Student Association, usually has their own. We're going together at it this time. So this is the plan because we have so many guests. This, SSA usually has about 300 guests at their event. We usually have about 250. So it's going to be pretty big. We may have between 400 and 500 guests. So I'm just going to give it off to our treasurer from MSA. We have 2 representatives from MSA today and 2 representatives from SSA. I'll take it off to Jose so he can give the presentation.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Khoja and I'm the treasurer of MSA. I'm going to tell you a little bit about so a little bit of introduction. So Eid is one of the biggest celebrations for Muslim communities. So as Sarah said, we are going to collaborate together. So we don't want to make different events. So that's one for them, one for us. So it's a good time to be together and collaborate. Yes. So here what we have to do. So for my breakdown, for MSA breakdown, we are going to spend, we are asking for $2,000. The arcade games will have different stands. So our event normally we have a speaker, we have a guest. So we want to do something different. We want to bring games with things for our people, for all the students. So just to change the atmosphere, not just a normal celebration. So we have arcade games from the business, events and entertainment, and we want to spend $550. We are going to have football and air hockey and electronic basketball. And secondly, we will have popcorn machines. Popcorn machines will cost us $250 for the popcorn machines and for the equipment, with the delivery, everything, and then the business and the website. And third, we will have a photo board from game consoles, and that's going to cost us $400. $400 goes for the pictures, for the equipment, and for the guy who's going to take the pictures. I mean, because we don't know how to use it. And that includes the delivery and then we will spend decoration and table covers $100. We're kind of like cutting down our budget in decoration. We want to make it simple and nice, but we want to spend more money on the entertainment. And henna, which is basically is about drawing. When you draw on your hand, it's like mostly comes from Indian culture or Muslim culture, the Middle Eastern. When you draw on your hand like some flowers and stuff. That's called henna. We will. That's pretty nice, right? No, it feels nice. So that's henna, and we will have artists or someone's two girls, and we decided to spend the 300 on henna, and that's for 5 hours for two girls for 2 hours. And dessert, we'll just buy from Sam's Club $200 from Sam's Club dessert. Very simple. And drinks, Pepsi, 7-Up, water, things like that. So by the Sam's Club, and we're just asking $200 for these things. And overall, we have $2,000, and that's what MSA is asking. And that's MSA's breakdown. And now I leave you with Dina.
My name is Dina Swab. I'm the Saudi Student Association Treasury, and I'm going to explain the food breakdown. So we consider that so many people are coming to our celebration, so we are going to have different kind of food, vegetarian, and Indian food. The first restaurant we ordered from is Gigi's Cafe, and this is the list of food that we are ordering The total is 1,989. And the second restaurant is Bombay Shack, Indian food for $240. The total of the food will comes to 2,220. And
Go back to the slide. Since it's my first time presenting, I was just asking, do you guys like Excel like this, or do you guys like the breakdown that I?
We love Excel.
Okay, because for me, this is my experience. I like Excel because I'm a grad student, MBA, concentrated in finance. So I love Excel. I don't know if you guys like it. But so just to make sure next time, you know, whatever you guys like. Excel, I think is like very cool. Yeah, and then the calculator. So this is the same breakdown, but Excel. And you guys have that, you can see. You can go.
And so, as we realize that our event's going to be very, very large, and as an MSA, Muslim Student Association, we have multiple events coming this semester alone. And we understand that we have 5,000 just for the year. So it's hard to request any additional funds from our account. So we wanted to ask to request for additional funds as a collaboration with SGA. And that would cover additional $100 for decorations. Possibly, we only put $200 for drinks, and we're about over 400 people, so it's definitely not going to cover the amount of people that we're going to have attend. So we're hoping we can get an additional 200. And then for food, for Bombay Shack, what they ordered is the 2 trays, and it only can give 60 people, I think. So we wanted to order possibly an extra 2 trays. Hopefully that'll cover a little bit more. Give more of a variety of food, since in the past years we've been consistently ordering Middle Eastern food. We kind of wanted to change it up and add a little more diversity to the food that we're offering. And just to clarify, we passed out all the extra papers that you guys got. You guys are probably really confused. So they let last minute SSA change the restaurant they're asking from, and so that's just a lot more information regarding the restaurant itself and the paperwork. So, do you have any questions?
Advisor Johnson?
So I see your event is taking place next week.
Yeah.
And I'm looking over your food order, and your food by far is not going with CSU catering policy at all. So I'm wondering who you've been working with from catering or from CSU on your initiatives.
So you're saying that they have to be an approved vendor?
First they have to be an approved vendor. If they're not an approved vendor, there needs to be a catering waiver form, and also it's usually one restaurant that is approved. So I see that you're going through Sam's Club, Bombay Chat, and the cafe. So there's 3 different restaurants, and I know Bombay Chat, there was an issue with the university and their billing process. So I currently believe that they're on the red list, and we're not able to have CSU funds go towards that restaurant. So I guess I'm just overall concerned with your event being next week, and wondering who you worked with or how you came about that.
How soon can we fill in the request form?
You would have to work with the Office of Student Involvement and Yolanda and Ron over in the student involvement area. I don't know what their policy is. I believe there's at least 5 to 10 business days for things to get followed up with.
So hopefully we can try to email by them tonight, and then email you guys an update by Monday or Tuesday, the latest, regarding the food. And the reason why we said Sam's Club in regards to desserts was because if we wanted to order a tray of cookies from the university, it's like $80, and they'll give us like, I think, 20 cookies or something like that. Compared to Sam's Club, they can give us like 50 cookies for, I think, like $20 or $25. It's just a lot more reasonable, and we wanted to be sure that we're spending our money irrationally, so we can distribute.
Oh, I completely understand. Catering policy sometimes is ridiculous, but you're only allowed to spend $75 off campus on an unapproved vendor. So there's a lot of policy, and I know it's the beginning of the year, and your event looks awesome. I'm totally not against the event. I just want to make sure that your vendors get paid, and that you're following policies, so that way everything can kind of, at the end of your event, be followed through on and invoices get paid. I also see within your event, you have henna and popcorn and a photo booth. All of that stuff needs to get ran through the Department of Student Life and Student Involvement office, as far as any types of contracts and purchase orders and all of that.
Yeah, I spoke with representatives from CAP regarding vendors that they can use, so they recommended those.
Yeah, just because they recommended it doesn't mean the paperwork's in the student involvement office.
Well, I just figured because they had, like, the arcade, for instance, they were, the company that I just contacted, they were here last week at the recreation center, so he said.
Right, there's still contracts and stuff that need to get filled out, though, 5 to 10 business days in advance before they come in, yes.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and try to get all the paperwork done as soon as possible. I'm contacting Wanda regarding, so basically, what is the policy regarding donating desserts, for instance? Like if we did like a potluck type thing where we told students bring a dessert.
If you have food donated, you have to follow the food policy, and I believe the Student Involvement Office has a copy of that, as far as when things need to be heated and cooled, if you're just making cookies or whatever,
Yeah,
that's
something like
fine.
a baking.
But you can't request any funds to be, you can't get reimbursed for those.
Okay, yeah, because they're donations technically. Okay, that's understandable.
Treasurer Singh, did you have something to add?
I have a question. What's the total number you guys asked?
Total for,
For money from SG?
from SG as like the collaboration, like with SSA and MSA, or from,
Like, are you guys asking together or separate?
no, we're asking the 2,000 from our account, from the MSA account, and they're requesting a specific amount from the SSA account for the fund, like, to bring it together as a collaborative fund.
Pull that.
Yeah, and then we're requesting an additional 600 as a collaboration with SG. I mean, yeah, SG.
So it's 48, 29 together?
Okay,
Call for a, call for a. Are we allowed, I don't think we're allowed to discuss. Yeah. Call for a.
okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, yes, I'm gonna go ahead and call an executive session, which means only voting members of Student Government Association, can be in the room. I'm gonna go ahead and need a motion for that. Can I get a motion? Senator Walsh,
I move to
open executive session.
open this executive session.
Can I get a second? Anybody who's currently not a voting member of student government, needs to step out of the room. Sure, just wait outside, it should be brief. President Wong?
So, this is kind of a weird request that we've never really had before. Typically what happens is one organization will come and request money for an event. This is two organizations asking for a collaborative event at a Senate meeting. According to the Constitution, I believe, you cannot fund two events towards two organizations towards one event unless it's coming out of collaboration. So typically what we do is when we're doing this, we fund an organization and it comes out of their 5,000 cap. But that's not exactly what, in order to fulfill this request, what would happen. So a couple of things to consider. In the past, we've always funded this event specifically because it always proceeds before the first funding hearing. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind the fact that this organization doesn't have the approval papers, and the event is next Friday. That's something to consider. Consider the fact that they had something like from Bombay Chat, the $240, which they absolutely cannot get from Bombay Chat because they're on the red list. CSU cannot provide them funding for that thing. It can be earmarked for something else. You know, we can say we can earmark this $240 for an approved vendor, but that needs to be clarified in a motion. And then there's also the issue with like Sam's Club. So I think as a Senate, we need to come to a consensus about whether we're taking these funds out of their student groups. Well, I don't even know how we would do that.
Senator, sorry.
Okay, I could be a senator.
Yeah, honorary senator.
I don't know if you guys would feel comfortable doing this, but what I would recommend, I mean, it sounds like they haven't filled out any of their paperwork for this event. You know, there's contracts that need to be signed with the various vendors, there's kind of some issues regarding the food that they wanna, get. I don't know if they've, spent any money on marketing for their event, but what I would encourage you all to do is request that they change the date of their event so they can get this all put together, and have, it's just gonna help their event overall.
Senator Hangan, I know you're in MSA. Would there be a problem with moving the event? I don't know even what Eid is or if it has significance for that date or.
Well, the official holiday is that Monday, the 12th, and then, that you can comment on this, but we've been thinking of, we've had a conversation about possibly moving it, and it just seems unlikely that it could happen. As far as paperwork, we've been meeting with Dan Lenhart and Ron and Yolanda just about our organization in general as well. And obviously financial requisitions would not have been able to happen with the current time frame that we have. So they encouraged us to fill out everything that we possibly could. So we did the financial requisition for MSA's part and just submit it saying pending approval of SGA funds. So those things that we could do, we tried doing. As far as catering goes, I'm on family plannings and I still don't know everything. So that was the problem that we're dealing with now.
I'm just concerned that you won't be able to get your products or your food at your event with the quick turnaround.
Right.
Senator Deco.
So what they would need is like, so for the photo, like, do they need like they need to have a contract that they show, like who are they trying to speak contract?
Depending on what group you're working with and what Yolanda knows of the company, she'll either have you do a contract with them or the company will give you an invoice. And so that way she'll have a purchase order number or it being processed through purchasing MagnaSmart, so that way your vendor can get paid after the event.
Okay. We just had and I was just at a events committee meeting and we went through the details.
For this event?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, and we went through all these details and the head of catering said, we told them that we're getting, well I guess that, but, because I'm also vice president, I would say, but we told them that we're getting funding for this today. So he just said, make sure you guys come to him, make sure that we come to him with, the forms and whatnot after this meeting.
Okay.
How to go through. So he's expecting that.
At events committee, did you have all this paperwork and went over it with everybody at that table?
Because SSA, which, I'm MSA, so I didn't have anything to do with that, but they just changed where they're getting their food, which is why we have most of this. So no, we didn't go over, the restaurants or
okay.
We also weren't told, we said Indian food, we didn't say Bombay chat, so they didn't tell us that was red listed, otherwise we would have just went to another restaurant.
So I would just tighten those things up, and then I would say you could probably, if you've already went through events committee, that's the main channel, those people know about it, they know of the information. I would tighten up your food order and meet with them on Monday, pending that you receive your money.
President Kwong.
So a new caveat of the whole funding process, which I don't know if we spoke on or not. Did you explain exactly that if they don't use the funds, if they don't use these funds, they don't get to use it for another event? It gets withdrawn and it goes right back into the general pool. So I guess that gives us more flexibility in being able to say we can make an allocation to them and earmark it for a specific purpose, and if they don't use it, we can be pretty sure that it's not going to be used otherwise.
Treasurer Singh.
So basically, the money going to be staying in our account, like whatever they need, that's the only money is going to be taken off, right? If they only use 500 going to be taken off.
Senator Hangan.
With I know there's some costs that even could be technically free depending on SGA. Like we have a popcorn machine. If you guys could donate that.
Yeah, easily.
Oh yeah.
We can knock that out.
So we're all for cutting down costs as well. We understand.
Treasurer Singh.
I have a question about uniform. Are we going to fund from COLAB or the finance committee?
Well, it is in the Constitution, or not. It's in our laws. We're not allowed to give funding to two student works with the same event. That's why collaboration budget was established in the first place. So we can, but we used to fund these two orgs for separate events, but now that they come together
Right,
for collaboration,
right.
we might be able to do it this time. Senator Pachetti?
I was just curious because, I mean, okay, so say it does come out of the collab, we can always reallocate funds to the collab later.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, you know, it was actually just, I think it's one of those working laws that we had before. I don't think it's actually written down. I think that was one of those things like, because I remember when I was on the committee with Kyle, we established the $5,000 rule. That wasn't an official thing.
No, that's an arbitrary number.
I'm pretty sure as well that this rule was arbitrary as well, that we made up back then, and it's continued on.
Which one?
The one where you can only fund the student org for, you can't fund two student orgs for the same thing.
I mean, I think that we can go ahead and fund them from their separate accounts. And if we deem that's irresponsible, then we can move it around from the finance funding the next year.
Okay. Yeah, so at this point, it looks like our discussion is, kind of just continuing on. I think with the way the funding process is changed now, anything that they don't spend or anything that they try to spend that's not what they earmarked for will be pulled back. If it doesn't have the proper contracts, they won't be able to spend it. So again, if we fund it at the current dollars they have now, pending their paperwork goes in, it's no loss to student government. Senator Downer?
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly say that, I think it's a good idea to have groups try to collaborate and cut costs that way. And so therefore, I think moving forward, if we could streamline some rules to make this easier and more appealing to student orgs, that would be cool.
I agree with you. I don't know why that rule was a
Right.
thing.
It seems strange, right?
It is strange, now that I think about it. Senator Walsh?
I think, the last semester, we funded 2 orgs for the same event. It was Improvise and Project. Yeah.
And it was a great event.
Which event was that?
Improvise and Project Two.
Oh, the end
For
of
which
the
one?
Yeah.
Oh, the gala? Well, right, that was from the collaboration fund.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to figure out is.
Oh, that was from
Yeah, that was from Collab. So what we're trying to figure out is do we allocate these funds from Collab, or do we say allocate the money that they're requesting from their fund and allocate the money they're requesting from their separate funds?
Secretary Gretsch?
What about the money that they're asking from SJ? Would you take that out of the collab?
This additional fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
So does this, there's a lot of crossover here, like it just says decoration. Does that have to do with the decoration that's on their breakdown? Because they have decoration and beverage here.
It's additional.
Is it additional? I don't know, what's at the discretion of the Senate, I think.
I think, so what we're looking at now is we could, the additional, obviously, we could take that out of CoLab. We can fund these 2 organizations because that was an arbitrary rule that it wasn't written down in our Constitution. So we can go ahead and run with this now, and again, nothing will be taken out of account until they get the paperwork done. Go ahead, Senator King.
My question is just like, what do we do about the catering? If we can't do 2 vendors outside of the school?
You can cater through, get the waiver for, it clearly shows that the big one is the first one, the Tabbouleh and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Get a waiver for that is probably what we would recommend. And then the other 2 organizations, try to make it up somewhere through campus catering.
So-
President Kwame.
So I think that obviously we want to consider this larger order right here, and then definitely cancel out Bombay Chop because they're not an approved vendor. And then cancel out this Sam's Club and these 2 Sam's Club orders. You don't necessarily have to take out the entire dollar amount, but you can make an amendment that says it must be earmarked for an approved vendor, that extra dollar amount. And then definitely take out the $250 for the popcorn machine. We have a popcorn machine.
Okay, and President Kwame, can you go ahead and do that math for me so we can create a motion?
Yeah.
Treasurer Singh.
So are we funding them from the CoLab?
We're going to fund them from their individual boards and CoLab. The CoLab's going to, as the motion is, you are the Senate, so you have the power. to make the motion and whatnot, but we're gonna go ahead and fund the additional collab, again. Senator Bobby Elliott.
Is that our popcorn machine or Cav's popcorn machine?
It's ours.
Oh, okay.
We share it traditionally.
Oh,
Even though they wouldn't share it. Senator Najjar.
If Actually, does give our popcorn machine, do we give it like filled with popcorn? I feel like if we don't, there should be some money for filling it.
I'm sure you can find, or they can find the money within the budget that we have.
There's oil in there, and then with the other $100, if that's what we're gonna, that's what the Senate decides to allocate them, they can use the money from the $100 to buy the popcorn kernel.
Just a side comment, like I can say like we can trust this organization that they'll spend the money like towards food. But as generally as actually, I don't think we should make decisions based on the fact that we'll just fund them because if they don't use it right, we'll get it back. I feel like it's a good idea to keep our mind that, you know, the money will be handled safely, but we shouldn't use that as a basis of our decision.
I agree, but this is an exception, and the only exception of the year, as far as going outside of the normal funding process. Because we just haven't had funding here yet, it's not possible to fund this organization. But from here on out, there will be no exceptions coming in front of the Senate, unless extenuating purposes come up for with the Senate team to. But yeah, good point. We're waiting on the numbers here.
So the approved number that we could definitely fund, barring all the other restrictions, is $3,739. That's taking away the Bombay Chat, the popcorn machine, and then, sorry, hold on. 3,339. So that's including the. Oh, sorry. Okay, so what the Senate can decide to do is allocate 1,989 to SSA, and then write in the condition that the other $240 has to be go through an approved vendor or an approved process. And then for MSA, that $1,350 can be allocated to MSA with the caveat that $400 has to be through an approved purpose. The $400 comes from the Sam's Club expenses.
And
feel free to have discussion.
yes, the floor is now open to discussion on that, and don't forget the $600 that is collab as well. Any questions, comments, concerns? Senator Shea?
So pretty much, I did the whole math and I subtracted it. It ended up being $14,261 left in the collab budget after we funded them from the $3,739. So that is also, from my understanding, that's not going to be taken out of either the organization's individual budgets. That's just straight up taken out of the collab budget.
So we're going to fund them from their individual accounts, and then the additional funding they asked for, 600, we're going to take
from the collab.
That's the decision we're making.
Yes. Well, again, you guys have the voting power, but that is the motion that we're about to make.
Okay. Thank you for catching this.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the decision that the Senate has to agree on is whether or not they want to take that from the individual accounts and account towards their yearly budget, or consider it as a collaboration event. Usually, collaboration events are decided upon in the Finance Committee. Obviously, this is a weird circumstance, but we want full participation from the Senate to make a decision like that.
I think this is another thing too. There were times last year, and I know Matt Walsh, you were there. There's a lot of arbitrary things that you decide, bylaws that you create when you're in Finance Committee, depending on what kind of funds you have. And we also took into account before, hey, this org's gonna spend all their money ahead of time, and they're not gonna be having any more money throughout the year, that this isn't the case. They're only asking for, less than 2,000 each. We haven't created a number yet, or what the maximum's gonna be for each org, but I know it's gonna be higher than that, so. Senator Martin?
Okay, I understand the circumstances, but I'm pretty new, so I would like to know, like, what, requirements would an event have to be considered a collaboration event?
They said, sorry.
Oh, you're okay.
They said that typically an MSA event will have about 350 people, and then an SSA event will have 200 people. Those two events are coming together, and they're gonna bring those two events together to have all those people. So when you have that kind of a number, that's what we typically qualify as a collaboration event. So I mean, we could, like Senator Pichetti said, take this out of the collaboration. Or it can be taken out of their accounts, or a mixture of the two, because I think either way there's going to be a mixture of the two, for that additional $600.
Treasurer Singh?
I think this is a big event, so we should fund that from the whole amount.
The whole amount.
We can do that as well. Matt Walsh, I'm gonna go ahead and ask, what do you think?
I'm saying we take it out of COLAB.
Total amount. We did fund a lot of large events from that. They were all great, even when I was the stingy frugal guy in the back saying no. And I was always wrong. So, all the events ended up being awesome, so, yeah, Senator Downey.
I would submit that maybe I don't know, I feel like both of the organizations were willing to pay a certain amount, and because we have a limited amount of funds, I would suggest that perhaps we have them pay like a nominal, like $1,000 each. Yeah, and then we keep the rest out of COLAB. That way they're putting, they have skin in the game, but also we're demonstrating that we want this to happen.
Senator Walsh.
Should we figure out how much, like, which org wants to divvy up how much first before we?
I don't think so. I think we should do that.
I think that's fair. I mean, the numbers are pretty close.
Okay, so, let's see here. Give me one moment.
Let's say it goes down to how was that total population? And then I think we should take this to a vote.
Thanks for your feedback.
Oh, no, I was wrong.
It's like a rule, like, so just so everyone knows, that $5,000 cap that we have, it's an arbitrary number that was created years ago. That's based on the number of organizations that exist, the number of the funds that we get. So that number is subject to change at the beginning of the year.
Senator G.
I think it's a good idea to go with Senator Donner was talking about in regards to making sure that they put in a certain amount of money as well as we collaborate with them. I think a little better for our budget as well, to make sure that we're not taking a big chunk of our COLAB group for one event at the very beginning of the semester.
Yeah.
And this is financially our town.
Yeah, so we have it up here. Does anybody, before, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and announce the numbers real quick here. 1,000 SSA, 1,000 MSA, 2,579, COLAB, that'd be student government COLAB budget dollars. Before I open the floor to a motion, is there any other comments besides that this is good? Senator Walsh.
I just want to clarify, the COLAB budget is kind of, we could move it around from finance, COLAB, or vice versa, or other departments within SGA. Let's say if you don't use the full travel fund or whatever other departments that we have funded.
Last comment, Senator Downey.
Yeah, I agree. I think that my rationale behind having them split some of the costs themselves is just because it kind of supports their cap, and therefore it's not like a harmless, just like spending money.
Yeah, I really like your your thought process there. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, I'll go ahead and read the motion, and then we'll go ahead and ask for the motion, itself. So we're gonna go ahead and move for 1,000 from SSA's budget to the E-Party, 1,000 from MSA's budget to the E-Party, and 2,579 from SGA. All one motion, and I'm gonna help you with the words, whoever wants to do it. Can we get a motion on the floor here? Senator Downer?
I move to allocate, or to what, move
That we allocate,
first?
yeah, allocate.
Okay, so I move that we allocate $1,000 to MSA, $1,000 to SSA, and the remainder of the requested amount, which was
2,579.
2,579 from COLAB.
Where'd you get the 2,579 number?
Did you get a different number?
I'm getting a different number.
Okay, what'd you guys get?
Can we, let's end on consensus about what the total number.
Senator Bobbiode, what number did you get?
Remember to completely slash out the 250 for the popcorn machine.
Is that maybe what we did?
I got it. Well, the Bombay chat, we can,
That's a
who wants, we can approve that, but we have to.
What did you get, 2?
Hold on.
I got 1739.
I got 1739.
Somebody else crunched it, I'm bad at that.
So we'll approve the 1739 on the call out. You get a, what's it called? Here, can you
Get an order real quick? Yeah, go ahead.
So are we slashing out the Sam's Club, the money allocated, they allocated to
No,
Sam's Club?
it's earmarked for, which has to be included in the motion as well, sorry about that. It's earmarked for approved vendors.
Oh, I see, okay. So the only thing we're actually slashing out is the popcorn?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And then, did you guys take out Bombay check also?
Yes.
We didn't take it out necessarily, we said that they can't spend that money. No, we did take it out, we took it out.
So that's what you guys, it's 2,339.
Secretary Grant.
Okay, are we keeping the Sam's Club?
We're keeping it in there, we're just not letting them spend that money on the Sam's Club.
Okay.
In the motion, we have to say they cannot spend that money on Sam's Club.
Just say that they need to spend the food allocation on an approved vendor worked out with CSU's policy.
Yeah.
Are we including the Bombay chat?
You guys, I think their food order is kind of all over the place. They have 3 different food vendors that they're kind of pulling from.
Yeah.
So you could pick, you don't have to use these exact numbers. You could say, $2,000 to use towards food with an approved vendor using the CSU catering policy, 1,000 from this organization, 1,000 from that organization, and have it be $4,000 that you give them. And then at the end of the day, we're doing checks and balances, and so if they don't use all that money towards this, then we can pull it back. Instead of picking the exact dollar amount, because if we're pulling different food vendors, we don't know what their food costs really are going to be. So we can give them $2,000 towards food. It doesn't have to be $9.99.
Okay, order. So I'm gonna go ahead and readdress the motion on the floor. The last one did not, reach. Somebody second the motion?
No.
Okay. Okay, then it was, no. So we're gonna go ahead and make a new motion on the floor. What do I need to object to?
No, you're fine.
The new motion on the floor here is 1,000 from MSA, 1,000 from SSA, 2,500, and that is the number in between the original number and the 2,339 is arbitrary number. And again, as Advisor Johnson said, there's checks and balances in the situation. We're giving them a base number here. They can work with it as they can. So 2,500 is the number from COLAB. And remember, all additional funds must be earmarked from approved vendors. So I'm going to go ahead and reopen the floor for a motion. Senator Downer, round 2.
All right. So I would move to allocate $1,000 to MSA, $1,000 to SSA, $2,500 from the COLAB budget of which all food purchases must be earmarked and approved by CSU Catering.
Senator Bobiotti.
I second.
Okay, so, is there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Good job, guys. Very good. All right. Yeah, so I now end executive session. Can I get a second on that?
Sorry.
Okay, we got it. Good job, guys. Very, very, very good stuff. Very good stuff. Thank you guys for waiting. It wasn't too long. Yeah, go ahead. If you guys would. Thanks for waiting, everybody. So, while we were in executive session, for those who are out, executive session in the future and now, we do that on occasion to discuss business, especially when it's, pertinent and there's people, in the room who we are working towards, especially in funding. So what we decided, the motion on the floor did pass for those who are outside the room. We're going to go ahead and fund you guys with some caveats. So we are going to fund $1,000 from the Saudi Student Association, $1,000 from MSA, and $2,500 from our CoLab budget. So that is an arbitrary number. All of these dollars are earmarked. They can only be used if you get approval to use them from an approved vendor. If you do not, you won't be able to spend that money. Also, anything you don't spend or you spend on or attempt to spend it on things that we do not approve it will come back into our accounts. Just so that you're aware of that. So yeah, that is done as well. Is there any? Yeah, go ahead.
So what you said was, if whatever is not used, it gets returned. Is that specifically from the 2,500 CoLab, or is that from the 1,000?
Both. Yeah. Now we are. It's different than it used to be. We have control over the funding. So when you request a certain amount of dollars from student government, it can only be used for that event that you originally requested it for. It won't just sit in there anymore.
And I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to food, in regards to like approved vendors and whatnot, since we eat halal food, and I know that
we recommend that you get the waiver for the first thing on the list was huge, the tabbouleh and all that stuff. Definitely use your waiver for that. Is that they'll be able to do that, right?
From what I know, you just have to have catering sign off that they can't create those items, and then the company that you're working with has to provide certain documentations that catering requests, such as insurance and stuff like that. Yeah, so you might be already set to go. You just have to work with Kevin Cannon over in catering. His extension is 5002. His office is right within the information desk on the first floor of the student center.
So in regards to like the more unique foods, the meats and whatnot, we can get an approved vendor. I mean, we can get the documentation for, but in regards to other foods that can be purchased by an approved vendor, that would be separate.
Yeah, lots of student orgs get a waiver, but you can only get one.
One waiver for
one waiver from one vendor. So you guys get a
work
waiver
with
for
the
that
student
one.
involvement office. They're the experts.
Awesome.
Yeah, use your resources there, because you're not alone. A lot of student orgs go through that process. But the Sam's Club cake or whatever you're gonna get, you can get that from campus catering.
Okay.
So all that kind of stuff, right? There's nothing too special about it. But I need to try tabbouleh. I haven't tried it yet. Okay. Is there any other comments, questions, concerns on the matters that we discussed today at the meeting? Okay. Anything?
Thanks, guys. I'm the secretary of MSA, and we really appreciate everything you guys have discussed, and you're all obviously invited, so I hope you guys would take the time and show up. MSA, and I'm sure SSA as well, I don't know as well, but I know MSA does have a lot of events also coming this semester, so whatever you guys have done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments for the good of student government or the student body?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here that helped get this event together. We are all new officers. Well, not me, but we're all new officers to the organization. representation. And so we're still learning, and so hopefully we'll learn from this experience, and for future reference, we'll be able to have things run a lot smoother. So thank you guys again.
So it's been great to see you guys at the first meeting of the year. I look forward to working with you throughout the year. I won't be your speaker for more than 2 or 3 meetings, but I will be your vice president. You can come to me for anything, as well as the rest of the board. I now adjourn this meeting at 5:01 p.m. on September 9th, 2016.